Millions of workers in the U.S. could get a pay rise for the first time in more than 20 years. Congress is reviewing legislation to increase the base salary for minimum wage workers. Ginger Vaughn tells the story of a woman who is among 3 million workers who could benefit.
She is totally dependent on tips. Without them, says 21-year-old Elizabeth Tannery, her paycheck would be nothing.
Tips is everything. I don't really get a paycheck. You can never know 100% what you're going to be making in a week or a month. It all depends on the economy and just how people feel that day. A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that servers only work for tips. They really either don't know or they just don't think about it, or maybe they just don't care.
Making a living off of tips is a reality for 3.3 million people in U.S. service jobs like waiters and waitresses, hotel employees, and parking valets.
In states like Texas, the minimum wage stands at $7.25 an hour. But for waitstaff at restaurants, the base is $2.13 plus tips, which for workers means every penny counts.
President Obama's plan to raise all minimum wages, including the tipped minimum wage, would increase the $2.13 base for the first time since 1991. Federal law requires employers to cover the difference if tips don't add up to the minimum wage. Some states pay higher than others, and higher than what is nationally required. Washington state is among the highest at $9.19 an hour. 13 states still use the federal level of $7.25. Elizabeth Tannery says she is lucky to pull in $100 a night. A raise in her base pay would allow her to save a little.
I do feel like servers are not only responsible for making their own tips, but we're also responsible for giving to the bussers, giving to the bartenders at the end of each shift. So not only do we have to work really hard for the tips that we make, but we have to also tip out at the end of the night. Being able to save. When you're going home with cash every day, you got to really push yourself to be able to save.
A full-time minimum worker makes about $15,000 a year, while some restaurant owners and economists say a raise could spur staff cuts and reduced hours to deal with higher costs. Tannery says she's still in favor of the changes. Ginger Vaughn, CCTV, Houston, Texas.